Any questions?
Magdi, it's Esther.
Yes, hello, Esther.
Hi. Would you speak to the importance of sitting in contemplation for long periods of time?
All what is necessary for the revelation of the self, for self-knowingness, is your interest and your love. Everything comes to you, the direction of your sadhana will come to you from your interest, from your love, from your passion. You may find yourself drawn to sitting quietly, silently, in silence, early in the morning or in the evening, or sometimes depending on your schedule during the day. But the silence of the self is beyond the silence of the mind and beyond the silence of the body. You can be silent, meaning silence the body, or you can have the body sit in a certain position, but activity continues, mental activities, and you can also do practices that still the mind. There are various practices, there are mantra practices, there are chanting, there are various practices that quiet the mind. But there's still the personal self. So it is important for you to follow what resonates for you. And not to do a practice out of habit. You have to love what you are doing. If you love sitting in silence, or sitting contemplating the scriptures, or whatever you are loving to do is good. If you love to go for a walk, just be in this marvelous presence of nature, which is always the presence of the self. Or if you are loving whatever doing some activity. So it's really about the love. But love and freedom come together. So there isn't an attachment or a dependence upon whatever activity you are doing. And it's important not to just make a habit out of sitting. But if out of your love and your love for sitting or for whatever activity you do, you find that it's better, you're enjoying it more during the morning, it's more appropriate in the morning for you, it works better in the morning, then that's how it's unfolding. But it can change. You're not married to that schedule, because things can change, and then you are sitting maybe later in the afternoon, or you're not sitting at all. As you know, I did a lot of sitting, a lot of silent sitting. I would wake up early in the morning and I would sit. And I would sit during the day and I would sit in the evening. I did that for many years. But I couldn't not do that. It was just a passion for doing that. It was a passion for doing that. That was my path. But there are other paths. People find themselves in the world, maybe in an ashram. Some people find themselves in an ashram doing some other sort of activities, of devotional activities. I also was very busy in the world, was working and taking care of family and children. But my sitting continued in my activity. It wasn't just a fixed hour or 2 hours of sitting. It went on. It continued throughout my day. So I don't have any practice that I encourage people to do. You can find out for yourself what really speaks to you. You may find yourself reading some Rumi poetry, some of Rumi's verses, or you may find yourself reading Jean Clain's, or you may find yourself listening to a YouTube video of a sage that resonates for you. Or you may just find yourself going for a walk or going to the theater or cooking something in the kitchen. What matters is that you are contemplating, what am I truly? That you are reflecting upon the reality of what you are. The reality of what you are is this borderless presence. And that whenever you revert to being a person, to being a woman in time and space, to being the body-mind, that you contemplate that you are not what arises, that what you are is the invisible self, and to allow this arising, this sensation to dissipate, to dissolve of its own. So there isn't like a general answer to your question, Esther. It's a very specific, if it depends how it resonates for you, how it speaks to you, this practice that you're asking about. You follow? Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. Thanks a lot.
Usually in the morning, when the body mind is starting to arise again from deep sleep to the waking state, if we are established enough or stable enough, if we're not stable enough in presence, it's a good idea to just start very slowly your activities. Just sort of, maybe it's a good time to just be still, notice the download of the world, body, mind. There's nothing wrong with it, but just to notice it. And sometimes we're scanning like what we need to do during the day. There's nothing wrong with that, just to notice that. What matters is when the me concern arises, the me story arises, and the personal self feelings and emotions start to arise. That's when you're really watchful not to just go with the snowball effect, not to continue riding that, to sort of, at that moment, it's really important for you to return to the self, return to presence, as much as possible. It's not, we're not out to make a war with the separate self, because the separate self is illusion anyways. It has to be sort of a gentle process, a process that's imbued with love, and our love for truth, and our interest in knowing the self, the reality of what we are. And same thing in the evening too. It's appropriate time in the evening when you are going to bed and lying in bed. Sometimes there is a lot of thinking that thoughts that arises, and then we become engaged in the thoughts. Now there may be some thoughts that are important for you, so you write them down on a little pad, just to, for example, you have to remember that tomorrow morning you need to send a letter to such and such a person. So you write that note so you don't keep thinking about it as you go to sleep. And then the rest you can just allow it to dissolve. So you can dissolve into beingness. Not to think, not to be engaged in thinking as you're going to sleep, but to use that opportunity where the world, body, mind now are dissolving, to sort of experience the dissolution of the mind into the self. Also, like sometimes we have a practice where we're sitting for years, we may be sitting for years. And at some point, it's just sort of ends. You find yourself, it's as if like you're sitting, becomes your daily life. And then you find yourself not sitting, or you are sitting all the time without sitting. That happens naturally. Because the practice, whatever practice we do, it's not about the practice, it's about awakening. It's about recognizing what we are. It's about a recognition that is visceral, that is a living recognition of what you are, an alive recognition of what you are. And this recognition is a self-recognition. It's the self that recognizes itself. It's not Esther or Magdi, or it's not a personal recognition. It is a cosmic recognition of the self. It's sort of a dissolution, dissolving into your absence. And that dissolution is the revelation of the peace of being, the causeless peace of being. And the transparency of being, like the dissolution of separation, the end of the impression of separation. You continue to return to the self until the self no longer leaves you, meaning the self no longer leaves itself. So you have to be watchful not to engage in judgments, in measurements, in comparison, to allow everything that arises to flow and to dissolve in the source out of which it arises. Not to do too much. Don't do. Be. Instead of doing, just simply be. Being is a form of allowing. It's a non-holding, non-grabbing, and it's non-thinking. So you're not thinking about yourself. Of course, there is functional thoughts and other types of thoughts that are fine. You're not trying to think about yourself. So the question, what am I, is not a thought, it's not to think about it, but to just be open with that question, ask that question, to be living that question, to be that question. What is the reality that perceives? Obviously, there is perception. What is the reality? perception? What is it that is real in my experience? And you allow the question to answer itself. You don't think about an answer because all thoughts are rehashed. But you allow the question to answer itself. Any questions? So I will take this opportunity to answer Zoe's last question from a couple of weeks ago. I had already answered two of your questions, Zoe. The third question was, could you also speak about karma? It is an illusion, correct? Question mark. Because it pertains to the illusory person and not to the infinite invisible. Karma relates to the world, body, mind. In other words, there is a thread in the mind, and there is causality in the world, body, mind realm. There is the me story, the impression of a person that is living in time and space, that is moving from the past through the present to the future, that has its own hopes, ambitions, expectations, conditions. It has its history, it has its present conditions, and it has its future aspirations. The karmic realm is the realm that we also refer to as the spinning of the wheel of samsara. In the karmic realm, the mind is continuing. So you may find that certain activities that you do have repercussions, and the repercussions are connected to these activities by thought, via thought. And so there is a causality. And you may look at your condition in this world, being born in a certain mind state. And this mind state, you wonder where it came from. How come we are 4 children from the same parents and they were all different? So we say we have different karmas, meaning that the dream is ongoing, but it differs from person to person. When you are in the world right now living with people, you will find there are a different mind state. Some are deep in the certain emotional states and certain conditions in their lives. Others are less so. They're contemplating, they're not as deeply in their conditions. And others are right at the edge of the mind. of mind conditions. So there is a mind continuum. And at the mind level, we become very interested in trying to understand karma. What is my karma, and how does my karma relate to past lives, and how will my activities today will affect my karma tomorrow? And there is a very simple answer to that. You remain on the roller coaster as long as you are not contemplating the self. Doesn't matter at what point you are in the roller coaster, because the roller coaster is just going up and down, up and down. So you may find certain events in this life to be more fortunate for you. Maybe you're born in a very wealthy family, in a very wealthy country, and you're having a relatively happy life. But you're still not contemplating the self, and there is misery within. It's not about what appears. Who cares about what appears? Because you could be in the most difficult condition. You could be in countries of war, where you are really having a very, very awful time. And this would be your path to God. So everything that happens to you, whether it is apparent wealth or apparent misery, are callings. There is within whatever is arising to you God's voice, and it's for you to hear it. Sometimes we think, oh, well, some people have a better karma because they are living a happier life. And some others have a worse karma because they are living an unhappier life. But from the sage point of view, that is not the case. Because what appears to be happy or what appears to be unhappy is not what happiness or unhappiness is. What appears to be happy is also in relation to unhappiness, happy, unhappy. Or what appears to be unhappy has also happiness in it, happy and unhappy. And it doesn't take more than a grain of sand in your eye to drive you crazy, or a small pebble in your beautiful $500 pair of shoes, that little pebble that's in your shoe, or that little foot corn that you may have a foot a sore in your foot, a small sore in your foot, and then every step you take is painful and unhappy. So in ignorance, we believe in good karma and bad karma. And we believe that, if we live doing good deeds, giving money to the poor and being a good person, then we are accumulating good karma. And if we live, miserably and hurting people and so on, we're accumulating bad karma. That is not the case. You will not accumulate any good karma or any bad karma via what you do, because there is no such thing. Only via your love for truth. When you contemplate the self and you start to question, what am I truly? When you start to explore and contemplate the reality of your experience, only then is the karmic realm starting to thin out. And at some point, in the Sahaja Samadhi, you are at the end of karma. There is no more mind. So you say that karma is mind. There is no good mind or bad mind. Okay? There's a very good, I think in the Indian culture in India, they make a lot of money out of reading your karma or whatever, things like that. Why not? It's a good business. People make a living out of that. But there isn't any good or bad. In fact, good and bad is only mind states, only mind. And good karma and bad karma is mind. So Right. So I wouldn't be, if I'm interested in awakening to the self, I wouldn't be that concerned about karma. I would let that entire realm, let the children play with that, and turn your attention to God's truth.
Thank you, Magdi.
Yes.
I was Esther's question sparked another question for me, and what you just said about love for truth, and only then is the karmic realm starting to thin out. And when we were on retreat, I talked with you about, really, I guess, wanting more of a sense of community where I'm at, and I found this retreat center that's about 2 hours away, and I went there for a meditation day yesterday, but the teacher was definitely not established in the self. It was a very sweet experience, and I enjoyed sitting with all these other people, but having this knowledge, or seeing that vasanas are not part of the awakening experience, and she was definitely entrenched in believing that vasanas are. I'm just, I guess, wanting some clarity with this love for truth. I can, whatever's appearing to me is what's meant for me, and wanting to sit in silence with others, that's enjoyable for me. But do I need to really be concerned with who the teacher is?
Yeah. Well, just one thing, Zoe, what's appearing for you is not meant for you. What's appearing for you is meant for your awakening.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. What's meant for you, what's arising for you, in it, there is an invitation to contemplate. For example, if something unhappy arises for you, and you're feeling a contraction, you're feeling an unhappiness, you're experiencing an unhappiness. So that unhappiness is a subject for your contemplation. Why am I unhappy? No. What is the whole process of unhappiness? And this may lead you to coming upon resistance, that there is a resistance, for example. And then it may lead you to contemplate, well, what is this whole resistance about? Why is there resistance? So there must be something at stake, something that's feeling threatened. What is it that's feeling threatened, etc. So just wanted to clarify that what is arising for you is neither good nor bad, but it is meant for your contemplation. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And in terms of being with a teacher, and the guidance of a teacher, the teacher can only point to their experience. They can rarely speak beyond their experience. There are some that can, but it's really rare. Let's just stay with a teacher can only share in a real manner, in a real way, their experience. Theoretically, they could speak about other things, but in terms of what they can import to you, what is alive for them, that you experience in their presence through their teaching and by being with them, is their experience, as far as they have come to the understanding. I am overall quite wary of teachers who teach prematurely. Now, many teachers do not feel that they are teaching prematurely. They just feel that they, they got it, or they feel like they're really drawn to teach. It's just okay. So it is. The very simple rule about working with a teacher is work with the best possible teacher that you are aware of, that you know of. The best teacher is the teacher that, of course, clarifies your questions, that you feel, you feel the peace of the self, and you also feel, happy, drawn to the teacher, and the way they speak, what they share, how they behave, and how they are in the world. How do they relate with the Sangha? And so you may have to rub a little bit against the teacher, as much as possible for us to get to know the teacher and feel that indeed that is a teacher that you want to work with. But,
well, Magdi, I feel you're my teacher, but I'm just, going to sit with other people is enjoyable for me. And there's nothing, so far I haven't found anything here. I consider you my teacher. I'm just wondering if that's, considering that this woman, and I don't think, she's saying that she's enlightened or anything. She's just really more teaching meditation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just wondering, after going there, I was thinking, well, maybe this isn't the thing for me. Maybe I'm better off just sitting by myself. If I don't know. That's what I was wanting clarification about.
Yes. If you go to sit with that in that center, in that place with that sangha, and you're happy, you feel you feel that it's bringing you, it's a time of peace for you, and lovely friends. But of course, it could be also just a place where you enjoy. Even maybe the place and the center, like there's a place upstate New York that I love to go to. That's just because it's just a very beautiful. It's a center. It's a spring water center. I spent many years there working, but I'm no longer working. But I still love the setting. It's quiet. It's still. It's beautiful, quiet.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If that you feel drawn to that, and it's happy. Yeah, you could, yeah. Now the thing is, if you're going anywhere with your with some expectation, like if you come to your teacher with expectation, and the teacher can sense your expectation, the teacher will address that. Will say, what is it that is wanting something? What is it that is seeking? Just to look at that, not to try to deny it or anything like that, but just to contemplate. When I'm seeking something, I feel like I lack or I need something. Can I look at that? Can I just contemplate that?
Yeah.
Obviously, there is something that feels lacking here, that feels I'm missing.
Right.
So any feeling of missing or any feeling of lack, I'm just talking generally now, any feeling of lack relates to somebody. It relates to me. So I feel like something is missing or lacking in my life or in my being. So then I say, okay, that's what's happening. But I take it deeper. I say, okay, well, if I am missing something, which I'm not going to deny, what is this I that is missing? What is the I that is missing? So the I that is missing, or that is lacking, or that is needing, must be here and now. So I look in that direction. But I don't want to get distracted from your question. Yes, if you are enjoying going to this place, and you don't, to a certain extent, you find some wisdom, or maybe not, just you enjoy just the I don't know if there are talks being given there, or if it's just silent sitting or whatever. If there is something that you enjoy, then it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's very helpful.
Sometimes it's helpful to know who is not your teacher.
Yes, exactly. Well, it was so clear going there. I was like, wow, what a difference sitting with you and sitting with her. And like I said, it was a lovely experience, but just it was very clear that the difference. So anyway, thank you so much.
Yeah. Remain open with it and see where it goes, Zoe.
Okay.
In terms of vasanas is basically, Francis Lucille used to refer to vasanas as the submerged part of the iceberg. It's the unhappiness that still remains in our body mind, even after we have had a clear insight that I am consciousness. And what's the point of being completely clear that I'm consciousness and you're still unhappy? Because this unhappiness still is identity at the body-mind level, at the body level, at the feeling level. You're okay until something unexpected happens and disturbs you. You're okay until you lose something. You're okay until one of your hidden expectations you're not even aware of isn't met. So the vasanic process is very important, and to be established as Sahaja Samadhi is at the end of the process of the dissolution of the vasanas, which can in some cases be very quick. In some other cases, it may it's a longer process. And I think it's important to understand that, and to be wary of a teaching that says you are the self, you are no one, there is nothing and no one, all is emptiness. And if you're unhappy, well, that's part of it. That's being a human is part of it. Being human meaning being separate self is part of it. I would be very wary of such a teaching. I would hesitate to call it a teaching, but I would be wary of such a teaching. Hello, Ananda. Ananda, you write the dance of karma and mind, the story that unfolds at the movie theater, limited by time and imagination. But doesn't it unfold from an unlimited imagination of the self simultaneously? Yes. The story that unfolds at the movie theater with the impressions of time and space and imagination does unfold from the self. It unfolds from the source. But the me impression, the ignorance, the impression of being separate self, which is something altogether quite different from the world, body, mind story. So there is identification, which we refer to as ignorance. Identification means the belief and the feeling that I am a body mind, that I am this character. Okay, while the lila, the waking dream, and all what's unfolding, the events, politics, whatever is happening in the world, the weather, all of that is mind, but it's not ignorance. So there is a distinction between ignorance and mind. So when you are dreaming a sweet dream, you could say it's mind. But when you are dreaming a dream where you are running and there is a lion chasing you, and that is ignorance, because you are not this character in the dream running, scared from the lion, or worried about what's going to happen to my fortune tomorrow, what's going to happen to my bank account tomorrow. That would be ignorance, because you are not that character in the dream. Now, ignorance does not arise from consciousness. It arises from consciousness forgetting itself, as if it's as if there is a personalization of consciousness, but it's actually so. It is a mind impression. It's a mind impression that consciousness is forgetting itself, and now is a body mind. Now you could say that in the absolute sense, it is all consciousness. But if you go to the absolute sense, okay, from the absolute perspective, there is only consciousness. There is no mind, there is no world, there is no body, there is no conceptualization, there is no concept, there is nothing. There is just the self. There is nothing objective. There's nothing phenomenal. When I say there is nothing, I mean there is nothing phenomenal. Thought is phenomenal. Perceptions are phenomenal. Sensations are phenomenal. Memories are phenomenal. Feelings are phenomenal, etc. So your question, you have to sort of see when you say, well, isn't all what's happening in the dream, isn't it consciousness? If you go all the way to consciousness, then there's only consciousness, there are no dreams. But if you're contemplating the dream state, then you could say that yes, the dream state is consciousness appearing as this perception right now, and the ignorance is consciousness forgetting itself, and now I am perceiving you, I as this body mind, and I feel like I'm a body mind, I feel like I am this consciousness and you're this separate consciousness. And that is what is the root of unhappiness. And this is what we address in satsang, which is the belief and the feeling that I am a body, that I am born. Many people share that feeling and that belief. Many people feel that they are born. I would say maybe most of humanity feels that they are born, right? And this is what we address, that feeling of being born, of being mortal.
I guess as you were answering Zoe's question about karma, I think it was her question, it was occurring to me that I tend to think of this whole manifestation as limited in a certain way, and then I realized, oh, you know what? Actually, the free creativity of the self gets to have oceans and planets, and you know what I mean? Like no limit.
But they are still limited. I mean, an ocean is limited. I mean, how big is the ocean? 6,000.
Right.
You know, an ocean is still limited.
But I mean, it is freedom of expression, so to speak. The freedom of expression of the self.
Freedom of expression refers to the freedom.
Yes.
Which is the freedom of the self. So the freedom is infinite, absolute. The freedom of the self is absolute, right? So, and therefore, it is a freedom to express or not to express. And the expression, has its limitation, because it is an expression, and then there's another expression and another expression, etc.
Yes.
So at the mind level, yes, there are all sorts of, I wouldn't say limitation, I would say there are specific aspects, specific forms, specific, there is dimensionality. While at the consciousness level, it's non-dimensional.
Right.
But you need to understand that this conversation is a relative conversation, because you don't have two realities. You do not have the absolute reality and the relative reality.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So we're having a dream conversation in a way, but there is something in the dream conversation that is being shared that helps us in our understanding, and the understanding always dissolves. The understanding is not gaining; it dissolves some of the structures and some of the faint beliefs still are there, or unclarity that's still
right.
See? So when you're speaking about the manifestation, about the lila, about the world, body, mind, and you say, "Well, there is infinite." Yes, there is infinite creativity. They say God is omnipotent. You know, that there is no limitation to God's freedom and creativity and capacity. And so, but the manifestation, the manifest, is still in the realm of appearances, and the freedom is the freedom that is of the self, that is beyond the manifestation.
So I was thinking how, I mean, this brings up to mind, like when something is very beautiful, like the ocean, for example, you go, anyway, like something just very beautiful, that doesn't imply or necessitate an ego position in relation to the phenomenal experience. It's more like, this is kind of a new territory for me in a way. It's like, you know, you like this saying, which I find I've always pondered this, that beauty, it can be an absolute. Beauty is an absolute. And so then in the expression, if you're not worrying about, you know, something, the senses are perceiving the environment. It's beautiful. The sun is warm. You know, everything's good. If you can either take it from an ego position, oh, I feel good, or recognize some kind of an overarching beauty, perhaps.
You know, whenever you say, "This is very beautiful," you think, I am looking at the ocean, it's very beautiful. The eye that is looking is the same eye that is looking right now, yes?
Yes. Yes.
And this eye that is looking is not an eye that you see, right?
Right. And it's also very beautiful, just like the ocean.
Well, but but before we do that, the eye that is looking at the ocean is the same eye that is looking right now, that is perceiving right now, and it's not something that you see, right?
Right. I get to where you're going. It's not something you see.
You know, something you perceive, but yet it is I that I am. It is the I that I am. It is the I that you are, right?
Right.
It's the I that we refer to as being, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that I is not like a phenomenal. It's not like some, you know, like you can perceive these glasses, but it's not. If in the phenomenal realm, we refer to the noumenal realm, that it's the infinite invisible. It's the reality. The reality of perception is not perceived. Is not in the perception. It is the perceiver of the perception. The perception is in it, right? You follow?
Yeah, the perception is in
Is in the perceiver.
Yeah.
It is intimate. Is intimate. the substance of the perception is the perceiver, because you cannot separate any part of perception out of the perceiver.
Right, I see that.
What would be something perceived without the perceiver? It makes no sense. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the eye that's looking at the ocean, is consciousness. So there isn't ego. There isn't. When we say an ego, we're referring to I as a body mind, the identity, the mental, the bundle of thoughts and sensations that we refer to as the ego is a conceptual body, is a conceptual, it's a concept,
right?
That we believe that that's what I am, that there is an ego, and I am this ego. But in fact, it is consciousness that's looking at the ocean.
Yes.
Right? And the ocean that consciousness is looking at is not separate from consciousness. It's at zero. It's intimate. There is an intimacy of consciousness with the ocean.
Yes. Yes.
So when consciousness says, wow, this is really beautiful, consciousness is speaking about itself.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the ocean of consciousness.
Yes, but the point I'm making is that we are, when we say, oh, it's so beautiful, we're talking about the self. We're talking about consciousness.
Yes.
So that beauty that we're perceiving is the beauty of consciousness, you could say, that is appearing as an ocean, or appearing as the breath, appearing as this perception, appearing as the sun shining onto the holly tree, etc. Right? So, but it's like saying the sun is shining onto the lake, onto the forest, onto the prairie. All the sun that you perceive on the lake, or on top of the trees, or that is on the shining on the prairie, is the sunlight. It's not the light. It's not the light of the prairie, or the light of the lake, or the light of the trees, right? It is the sunlight, right? So similarly, when consciousness is perceiving, meaning it's shining, just as a metaphor, it's shining the light of consciousness onto the ocean, onto itself, because the ocean is not apart from consciousness. The beauty is the beauty that belongs, okay, a way of speaking, okay, belongs to consciousness, that consciousness is. Yes, you follow?
Mm-hmm.
So we speak of the attributes of consciousness as beauty, as freedom, as joy, as intelligence, as wisdom, as clarity, as transparency, as humor. They are absolute, because they refer to consciousness, and consciousness being non-phenomenal,
right,
has no opposite. Could opposite refer to in the phenomenal realm? Yes, like night and day, okay, or up and down, whatever. Yes, they are in the phenomenal realm. But when you come to the noumenal realm, when you are speaking to the reality of consciousness, then all the attributes that refer to consciousness are absolute. I don't know if I went very far away from your.
No, I think you're right on it. That's what's fun about this kind of conversation. You're just taking it to so. And that just makes me think, so all the attributes, if we can call them that, attributes of the ego.
The attributes of the ego are the attributes of Santa Claus. Santa Claus is big, he's tall, big belly, big white beard.
With the red shirt.
Has a shirt. You have the slay, and yeah. So these are the attributes.
So
People.
so when the attributes of when the attributes or the reality of the true I or the self is embraced, or whatever,
Yes,
then the attributes of the small self just fall away.
it is
I'm
all.
thinking no fear of death, at all.
Yes,
Is the result.
yes.
One was one result, because you have to drum it up, don't you? You have to think, I'm the person, I'm the body mind. When something happens to it, it happens to me. And then the emotions that go with that.
Yes. Yes. As you become clearer, and I don't mean just conceptually, whereas the impression of being a body mind, of being a man or a woman, it's seen through with more and more and more clarity, both at the understanding level and also at the feeling level, that I am not this feeling, I am the space in which all feelings are arising, all bodily sensations are arising. There is a thinning out of the impression of being a body mind, and all the attributes that come with that, which are basically, you can sum all these attributes of the person as unhappiness, you could say, right?
Limitation for sure.
Yeah, limitation, unhappiness, isolation, contraction, all the emotions, the negative emotions. That's really what the human experience is. There is the piece of the self, and there is the human realm, which is the roller coaster ride. I'm happy now because she loves me. Oh, now I'm miserable. She loves my cousin, and oh, I'm happy because I got the promotion. Oh, now I'm unhappy because I have to work 60 hours a week now, etc. Yes, that's the human.
Uh-huh.
The mind is unhappiness. So yes, unhappiness diminishes and happiness increases. So in your that also addresses many people's question. If in your sadhana, in your life, your happiness is increasing and your unhappiness is decreasing, you are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's the natural tendency. That's the natural direction to go.
Yeah, well, if you look at how we are living in ignorance, we are seeking happiness. So we're seeking happiness in the weather, in the body, in the mind, in the job, So it's always happiness when and if. But it's not the experience of happiness increasing now. So you have to be sober about distinguishing between your imagined happiness. Oh, imagining I'm going to be happy because I'm going to, she loves me. She's gonna reply yes to my invitation to dinner, and actually the fact that you're in anticipation right now.
Right. Wait a minute. The anticipation has unhappiness in it.
Well, yes.
So even you do something.
There are some anticipations that are, like, for example, when I go to the airport and I'm anticipating to see Tara because she's just coming.
Oh, okay.
It's it's happy because
yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
I just
a good anticipation.
I'm talking about if we're placing condition upon our happiness, that we will be happy when and if, then that's not that process will diminish, is bound to diminish in your correct contemplation of the self.
Yes. I have a group called Atmana. We play kirtan music, and so we had a concert a few nights ago, and I realized there were a couple of places where I was a little uncertain. I hadn't been to it. I had missed some rehearsals, whatever. The whole song is going, and then it comes for the flute solo. And I thought, if I relax, I know I can, it'll come out fine. If I worry about it, who knows what's gonna happen. But I'm not really certain also of the moment it comes in, and stuff like that.
Right.
So so there's some kind of a meta view or something that makes somehow that none of it matters. And yet that's almost necessary for it to go right. It's just, you know what I mean? If you worry enough, you mess it up for sure. If you get worried enough. Yeah. So it's kind of like going in the opposite direction from worry. But
well, you play a lot the flute, you practice a lot the flute. So there's already, I mean, you've been playing flute for many years. So there's already, it's not like,
there's a comfort level.
Yeah, there is a certain comfort level. But not knowing, is to be at that edge, to be in the timeless, and there is a sort of like a trusting the not knowing, and I was going to say like jumping, but that may sound like, oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, right.
Trusting the not knowing, because that it is out of not knowing that these words are coming out right now, and it's also that very same not knowing that is hearing these words. It's no rehearsal. There is it's not rehearsed, right? I mean, in a way, if you think about it, you will find that there's no such thing as a rehearsal. Always the freshness of this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even a rehearsal with a group, you could say, this is doing it now, and we're going to do it later, but
it's always now. So rehearsal, I mean, in a relative sense, yes, of course, we rehearse, But even then, even when we're doing this, or what, even at that moment, it's fresh and new. Even at that moment, that first note that you're playing, you call it rehearsal, it's okay, is also a non-rehearsal. It's also fresh and unborn. It's arising out of the unborn, and it's dissolving in the unborn as it's arising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So you can trust that, because in fact you can realize, oh, well, that's my experience after all. It's how the entire universe is manifesting, is unrehearsed in this moment, a moment of creation.
You know what always has amazed me, when you see musicians, like maybe classical musicians, they come on the stage and he takes his cello and he puts his finger on the string in the exact, there's no frets, He doesn't even look at it. He doesn't even look at it. The exact, for the pitch, perfect, And I realized that the flute it's not as delicate like that, but you have to hit the note right. You pick up the flute and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The note is the embouchure, the note is right, or it's not quite right. And when that's all happening, it's kind of like, I don't know why I'm even saying it. It's kind of like the self is just having fun.
Beautiful.
you know, and so what? And if there's a wrong notes somewhere because you had the wrong conceptual key in your mind and you play the wrong note, you know, so what?
Right. You're enjoying the playing, and it's a shared joy, because everybody who is around listening, they are sharing your joy. It's just one joy. And when you're contracted, the whole space too has, you know, it has that contraction. Many are not sensitive to that. So, but some may sense, you know, when you are nervous, when you go up on you're on stage, you go up and nervous, everybody feels that you're nervous. I don't know if you ever had that experience. I recall we share the nervousness of the person who's on stage, and in a way we are trying to help them release. We're just trying to we're sort of with them in like releasing that nervousness, and just to be.
Yes, if there is such a thing as a hostile audience, that's not going to help you.
No, yes, of course.
It's the opposite of that. It's the
in general, the audience is there, you know, to enjoy and to have a good time. And so when we sense somebody on stage that's nervous, in a way, we're helping them as best as we can, because who knows how big their nervousness is, but we want that release, because it's one. There is no separation.
Right. So that's one other place where the real sense of comfort comes in, is by recognizing the no separation.
Yes.
And then
separation, so we can sense, you know,
like if you're really nervous,
you know, with the audience is participating with the stage.
Right. Well, thank you. This is there's little ins and outs to this, but it's just an ongoing thing. I relate it to the Sahaja Samadhi, because I just don't, is that the experience, the everything is not at distance from the self.
There is no separation. So you can trust not knowing, you know, be not knowing. Allow the not knowing. Allow that to be. It is there. Not knowingness is. Relax as that. Know yourself as that not knowing.
So you know what happened? I'm going down to Santa Cruz today to help a friend move, and she's gotten quite elderly, and she needs to move into a place where they somewhat take care. So I really didn't want to miss this hangout, but then I got a call saying, "Oh, the way the schedule is, maybe come a little later on Sunday." And that's where I am. So it's just it's a beautiful unfolding in not knowing, and here we are. Anyway, thank you so much for being here like this.
Okay, thank you, Ananda. So any questions? Okay, Emmanuel, I saw your message. Let me see. Okay, Emmanuel, not a problem. I think that with the hangout, there is usually a room. There's a limited number of people. I think it's just 10 people or so.
But there's only 8 right now, so he could get on if he's there.
Yeah, well. Okay, well.
I recognize that. I recognize that tone of voice. I just wanted to say that today I'm driving to the ocean. I'm driving down to Santa Cruz, which is a beautiful, incredibly beautiful drive.
Santa Cruz, is it near Santa Barbara?
It's between San Francisco and Santa Barbara. It's
okay
at the north end of that.
Beautiful.
But it's almost like Big Sur when you drive from San Francisco south.
Yes.
And so I just, in the context of our conversation, I was noticing that the eye that's going to enjoy the ocean is indeed the same eye that's looking at the screen.
There is one eye, Ananda.
And it's looking, and the satsang is really just the radiating of the eye. It's like the eye is aware or something like that. The eye is active.
In satsang, the self is contemplating the self. And directly. It is contemplating the self directly. When you're looking at the ocean, then the self is contemplating the self indirectly. We are looking at the ocean and going, wow, how beautiful. So satsang is a looking into truth, looking into the self, looking into the reality. So it's the self that's always looking at itself, and that looks at itself directly or indirectly.
I see.
And the self-knowingness, as the self-knowingness gets established, meaning as the self ceases to ignore itself and becoming a Magdi or becoming an Ananda, as the self is established, then the self is always looking at itself, knowing itself knowingly. It's knowingly the self. The self is knowingly knowing itself.
Yeah.
It sounds, how can the self not knowingly know itself? Right?
Right. I'm realizing the reason that people live, I think if people don't understand their self-nature at all, that how can they even go through all that, getting up in the morning and driving to work and doing all these things? It's because there's an unknowing of the self, but it's still there.
Right. What we love in our life is consciousness. Because if you tell somebody, okay, look, I'm going to take your Maserati, or you have a choice between I take your Maserati or I take your consciousness, or consciousness or Maserati. You take Maserati, right?
Right.
Because what we love in life, whatever, is consciousness, but we're unaware of that. We think it's a Maserati. We think it's the woman or the man, our partner, our friend, or our parents, or our job, or our money. We don't realize that, in fact, what we truly love is consciousness. Anybody would trade all their possessions instead of consciousness. So you can take everything. It's okay. Just keep your consciousness. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So yes, is only one reality, and it's always the same self that is that is the one reality. But there is such a thing as being knowingly this reality.
Mhm.
Or, again, this is relative language, but I'm going to say it anyways, or being unknowingly this reality. Okay, I know you could pick
No,
at
I'm not having a problem with it.
right. Okay, so being knowingly this reality is what we're talking about. So it's a self-knowing, self-knowledge.
And it sounds like that's what you were pointing to with Esther in the meditation conversation. It doesn't matter whether you're sitting and contemplating it or being quiet or whether you're whatever, but it's are you knowingly opening to knowingly knowing
Well, the
yourself?
practice is follow the path of love, the path of bliss. The if say practice is drawing you and it is happy,
Yeah.
like an obligation or something you have to do in order to practice for long enough, you will blah blah blah. No, if it has to be happy. So you have to, it's celebration now, not for later.
Uh-huh.
So if it's lying on the couch, then it's lying on the couch. If it's like sitting, whatever, it doesn't matter
Uh-huh.
about happiness.
Yes.
And the self doesn't go to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz appears.
Uh-huh.
We call it Santa Cruz.
Uh-huh.
We don't need to call it Santa Cruz. We always remain as the self.
Yeah. Merci beaucoup.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for your lovely company. Beautiful Sunday. Enjoy your day, and we'll see each other soon. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.